Jim Gibson. Thank you for joining me today. I very much appreciate it. And I'm going to try to do this as a series if it works, okay? Not committed to it, but let's see if it works. And what it is every once in a while, hopefully on a regular basis, I'm just going to go through some of the interesting comments that show up on my channel, CableSupply.com, and see if I can answer them for everyone. And the reason I'm doing this is because some of the questions that people ask to answer would be quite lengthy, and I can't do it in one or two sentences. So I thought I could answer some of these questions right on the YouTube type of thing, and it would not only benefit that person, and I'll mention their name, I'll mention what video they're referring to, but also could benefit you and could help you. Now, the first question was actually from a friend. He called me up and he said, you know, my internet access is horrible. He goes, I can't do anything. He says, it takes forever. Little circles on the screen when I'm watching TV. And he says, and I know it's cabling. I'm going to just recable the whole building, and I'm going to kick it up from Cat 5e. I'm going to kick it up to Cat 6. And I said, whoa, let's wait. Let's see if we can troubleshoot a little bit. Maybe I can save you some money. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to buy 3 boxes of cable, as he suggested, I am here to sell cable. I am here to sell patch cords. I am here to sell jacks. And so, you know, I'm not going to stop the person, but at the same time, I don't want someone to waste their time and money. So I said, let's go through what your concerns are. He said, well, you know, it's just super slow, man. And I heard that if we moved the Category 6 from 5e, that it would be a lot faster and things like that. I said, not necessarily true. I said, usually, the bottleneck is your ISP. So what did you contract for? And, of course, he called me back a little while later, and he said, you know, I contracted for this amount from Cox. And I said, well, fantastic. That's more than enough than what you need for your house. For what, you know, 2 TVs, 2 computers, things like that. You have plenty of bandwidth for that. So there's something else going on. Did you do a speed test? And he said, yes, I did a speed test at one of my computers, and it was horrible. It was slow, super slow. And I said, okay, so let's take a look at this. You have a laptop? And he said, yes, I do. I said, so I'm going to use the tools that you have. Now, as a cabler, I have test equipment and things like that. So I could put test equipment on different segments of the network and determine pretty fast what the problem is. And but he has a laptop. Now, laptop, PC, whatever, you just do speed tests, basically. So I said, okay, do you have a new patch cord or something you know works really well? And he said, yes, I have one for my laptop. I said, let's take that laptop, let's go to that router switch that Cox sent you, and let's plug it in, and let's do a speed test from there. He did a speed test. He called me back. He goes, man, it is exactly what I've been what I'm paying for. I said, okay, so it may be cabling, but let's take a look. Let's do some troubleshooting so you know it's good up to that point, right? And he said, yes. I said, okay, so take that patch cord now, and you plug it in to the port that supports the PC in your office. And he said, absolutely, plugged it in. Then I said, now do a speed test in your office. And he did the speed test, and guess what? The speed test was fantastic. He had a bad patch cord going from the switch to the patch panel, or something was wrong. I don't know, maybe it was a homemade patch cord. Maybe it got run over by something, you know, a car or a truck or something like that, and it messed it up inside. I don't know. But that was his problem. Now, certain principles that I want you to understand when it comes to troubleshooting. You don't start out where the problem is unless it's obvious, super obvious that what the problem is. So what you start out with is you start out with a known good place in the system. So remember, I took him all the way back. It wasn't a PC problem. He wasn't having problems turning the PC on. He didn't have problems, things like that with the PC. He had problems with the speed on his internet. So I took him all the way back to the switch and the router that Cox gave him, and I think it was Cox gave him, and he tested from there, and we knew that was good. So we can move forward segment by segment. I would have taken him all the way up to the computer to see what the speed was, and going into the computer, in the back of the computer. But before we did that, we already figured out that he had a bad patch cord. Probably one of those cheapos that they send you in the box with the equipment they tell you to hook up yourself. So that was the problem. Okay, well, let's get to some of the questions that some of the people have emailed me with or messaged me on the channel. And so I'm in my channel. I've logged in, and I'm looking at the messages that I have held for a review. You got to hold some of them for a review, because some people are very colorful in their language. And I like to keep it friendly and family friendly, child friendly, whatever. So if you're going to message me and you want your message to get out to the rest of the world, then just make it friendly. Ask the question. It doesn't have to a lot of foul language. Anyway, enough. So let's look at some of these questions here. Okay, Peppy Shopping says, the days of serial cable are gone, and nobody needs to care anymore if it is a crossover or straight through. I did not talk about serial cable, but there is a difference between straight through and crossover, and he does mention the fact that routers these days and switches these days are able to figure out if you put if you use crossover or straight through. Now, if you look at the video, it's called Patch Cords A to Z. Patch Cords A to Z. And I'll talk about all different patch cords. It's kind of a short video on all the options that you may have when you're using patch cords. And there's a lot of different ones. There's junk patch cords. You can buy them for like nothing almost. And sometimes they ship them with equipment. But you need to invest in decent patch cords, because you'll spend more time troubleshooting, like my friend, than you will in the cost of the darn patch cords. So if you're running a business, remember that, okay? That have decent patch cords on your truck or whatever. If you're running a cabling business, make sure you have a high quality patch cords. You know something else too? Keep the same color on your truck. I always use blue. So if it went out to one of my guys or myself went out to a customer location, and we put in another cable, and we hooked it up to the patch panel, and they need a cable or a patch cord going from the patch panel to the switch. Well, then you want the same color as the last ones you sold them, so they all look neat and not all different colors in there. So that's just a side note. And straight through and crossover. Yeah, that's really important. If you're going to be a professional, it should always be straight through, not crossover. And I know Cisco routers and stuff like that can differentiate and correct the cabling at the router. But you know something? If you're the person who has to troubleshoot this, and you have something going on in the cable system somewhere, and some are straight through, and others are crossover cables. It's a different pattern. Yeah, I know the systems can figure that out, but be professional. It should always be straight through. The only time you need a crossover cable is when you're connecting like devices, a computer to a computer, a switch to a switch. They should have crossover. Now, yes, I know Cisco, you can plug in either one, and the system has the smarts to figure it out. But do it right. Be professional. That's how I say it. So let's see what else is said there. Behaven Daiwan. Sorry, I'm really screwing up on the names, man. That's not my strong spot. The names. Same thing. Patch Cords A to Z. He's commenting on that video, and he said, does the cable, the outer sheath, color convey anything? No, the color doesn't convey anything. That's just, when you call up and you're ordering cable, the color of the cable doesn't convey anything. Now, what we used to do in the past years ago is, if it was a voice cable, we ran white cables. If it was a data computer cable, we ran blue. And that would just help us while we're pulling cable, and we knew how to punch, where to punch it down, and to what patch panel and what jack and how to label it and everything else. So that really helped out. Now on the jacket itself, it will tell you things like what category it is. Category 5E, Category 6, Category 7. It will tell you that. And on some cables, it will also tell you the footage. But not all cables will tell you the footage, and it's a pain in the neck. Now, there's a way. What I always did is when I quoted cable installations, I quoted them for just one drop. So I had a drop that was 20 foot, that I thought would be 20 foot in cable. I'd just cable for the same price as 100 foot. It was not that significant. The price is not that significant in the cable. The price that's going to cost you a lot as an installer is the labor. So if you're trying to quote it out and things like that to get every type of detail, you think it's 15 foot away, then you find out it's really 25 and you quoted 15. I don't quote footage. I quote drops. What is the cable? What is the jack? What is the patch? Not the patch cord, but what is the plate? Things like that. How long will it take to label it and test it and punch it down to the jack and also to the patch panel? I would charge one price for that. So let's move on. Francisco Barrasso. I'm sorry, Francisco. I'm really screwing up the names. Thanks again, Jim. And you know something? Thank you for the positive. Really appreciate it. In fact, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up on any videos you watch on our channel, because it would really be helpful. If you benefit from this information that I'm giving you, then give me a thumbs up and subscribe, please. I really appreciate it because it helps out the channel. It helps out me. So thank you, Francisco. Now next is Alex. Alex, another positive one. Very valuable information and well explained. And he's talking about pinouts. That's the very thing we just talked about a minute ago. And that video is RJ45 pinouts, explaining the difference between 568A, which some people use, and 568B. Now, the difference is it doesn't really matter if it's 568A or 568B. As long as both ends of that segment is the same. So if you're going to do A, both ends do A. Now, I've always done B, because the majority of commercial installation, that's the pinout. So that's the different colors that go into the system. And that pinout should always match one end or the other. Now, if you have an A on one end and a B on the other, well, that's a crossover cable, okay? Be professional. Do use straight through. I actually sell little modules these days rather than patch cords that are crossover. There's a module, a very inexpensive module, has an RJ45 male on one end. It has an RJ45 female on the other, and it is internally a crossover cable. So if you need a crossover cable, remember, like devices need crossover cables. So computer to computer needs a crossover. Computer to switch does not. It needs straight through. Switch to router, straight through. So sometimes there's a need, and it's usually a technician needs that when he's troubleshooting or he wants to log into a system manually, right there, and he wants to log in. Usually you use crossover cable. Not always, by the way, and the system knows sometimes if you're using crossover straight through, and it corrects for it. So it's not a big deal as it used to be. Let's go on. So anyway, that last one, that was RJ45 pinouts, explaining 568A, 568B. So that was the last one. Next one is from SJ. Man, I wish you were my neighbor. There are so many different avenues in low voltage. So now we're going to talk about, or from SJ. And SJ is commenting on home technology specialists. So let's see what SJ says. Man, I wish I were your neighbor. There are so many different avenues in low voltage. I could talk about it nonstop. It's a great career, great opportunities to have your own business. Yes, to have your own business. If you don't have your own business and you're thinking of starting your own business, this is a great business to start. You don't need a college education, and guess what? You don't need certifications to do this either. My friend that I talk about in that video, home technology specialist. My friend that I talk about, oh man, he is brilliant. He's a brilliant business owner. He really is. He's very wealthy business guy. But I told you in that video, you got to see this if you're thinking of starting a cabling company, because the difference is, and I've tried starting home installations many years ago. It's difficult to deal with that type of work, but he's kind of nailed it because he picks his customers. It's the key is the customer. Now, a key in every business is a customer, but in this particular place, it's not only meeting customers' needs, it's actually meeting the need of a certain type of customer. He only deals with homes that are $3, $4, or $5 million and above, and these people aren't going to care whether the TV you hang on the wall is going to cost them $500 or $1,500. They really don't care. Well, if you gouge them, yeah, they're not going to call you back. They're going to let you put the TV on the wall. That's the last time you're going to hear from them. But generally speaking, these individuals you develop a relationship with. I talk about it there in the home technology specialist video. And these people is the key. Who they are, how they view life, things like that. And they're very successful people usually, and they don't want to fool around with this. They don't want to put the TV on the wall. Some of them can do that themselves, to be honest with you. They don't want that. But the thing I add to it is don't miss the point that you can also be the technology specialist for them. You can do, your mesh system, your internet system, your PC. You can do PC support. Heck, you can even teach them how to use their cell phone. So you don't need really some sort of college education to be able to do this. So this is a great opportunity, and I think you could do very well at this. Remember, my friend does this. He's been doing it for decades, maybe a decade. I don't know. And all he has is a college, and all he has is a high school, and all he has, and all he has is a high school diploma. He's not an IT guy even, but he does this for wealthy people. He knows how to put computers. He knows how to put PCs. He does a great job, and he's very busy. So, SJ, you were absolutely right. I wish you were my neighbor because we could talk about these great business opportunities. One last thing about business opportunities. Check out my other website because in that other website I talk in particular about business and business opportunities, and that is Entrepreneurs with Trucks. Now, I didn't say in trucks. I said with trucks. Entrepreneurs with Trucks. And when you go to that website, you're going to see a little red pickup truck off to the side, because I think one of the keys, if you're trying to start your own business, things like that, a lot of times you need a little pickup truck. It's really helped me over the years. I own a pickup truck, and I think I'll always own a small pickup truck. They're great. They're very flexible. And starting a business is fantastic, man. It really is. It gives you a lot of freedom. It helps you with investments, things like that. I think I say on that other website how when I ran a cabling company and an IT company, and we put in systems all over the United States. For that type of company, the key is finding big corporations that have multiple locations. Like I did most of the Pecos throughout the United States, and I did a lot of banks. I did a lot of Winco Foods, things like that. And so that was very valuable to me. But that was that type of business. Now, when you're talking about home business, home home technology specialists, well, that's a little different. And the way you're going to get multiple businesses offers there, or multiple opportunities in business, is they talk to their neighbors. Neighbor says, well, I wish I knew someone that could fix my PC. There you go. I wish I knew someone to put a new TV up on the wall. There you go. And I think it's a great opportunity. You don't have to know all about IP addressing and all that other stuff, which is good to know if you're a professional. It's good to know. Let's see, what's the next one? I know I mispronounced the name. I'm sorry. Ramisthainen. Sorry. Anyway, he had a good question. I like how you held the phone system processor hostage for payment. Great advice on a lot. Thanks. Well, thank you for the positive. I appreciate it. And I think I don't know what he's actually referring to. It says he's referring to how to bid a computer network. So I guess I talked about the fact that you need to get paid. And sometimes there's little things you got to do, because let me tell you, sometimes it's kind of interesting. I think he's talking about this particular situation. We put in a big system for this guy who was just starting out a business, and it was give me 50% down and then 50% when we're done. And so I got my technicians. They're going to go out there, and I call them up and I said, hey, Mr. Business Owner, we're going to be there today. We're going to finish with the install. It was a multiple day install, and I'll need to pick up that check at this time. And so they should be done by the end of the day. Or are you going to be there? He goes, yeah, I'll be there. I'll have a check all ready for you to go. And I said, absolutely, I appreciate it. And we got all the way out there, and we did the system, and everything's ready to go. We have it all programmed. And this is a phone system, by the way. That's what I'm talking about. This was decades ago. And so this is just an example of how you make sure you get paid. And sure enough, when I looked for the owner of the company, he just disappeared. And I've had this happen before, and I've learned my lesson. I'm not naive anymore. Sometimes when the owner disappears, it means he doesn't have any money, and he's not going to pay you. And so they have other priorities, and it takes a lot of phone calls and visits to the office and everything else just to finish with the last check. So I said, hey, no problem. I said, you have him call me because the system isn't turned on. And we're not going to turn it on until we get that last check. And the employee there looked at me kind of strange. Said, no problem. So we went back to the phone system, and I pulled the processor out of the phone system. It was a little card, what do you call it? A circuit board card. And I pulled it out and I put it back in the box and took off. All the programming was on there. All it needed was to push back in. I would say I didn't get a half a block, and I got a phone call from the missing CEO. And he said, Jim, phone systems aren't working. What's going on? And I said, well, we're supposed to pick up a check. Are you there? And he goes, yeah, I'm right here. He wasn't there 5 minutes ago. And I said, great, we'll be right back. And we'll put that right there for you. And we want to demo it. We want to make sure you know that works, that phone system. And he said, okay, I'm looking forward to it. So I showed up, and there he was, standing at the door with the check. Gave me the check. I've done that a couple times because I've been on the other end where I never see the check, and I have to go to small claims to get paid. And sometimes I don't even get paid at small claims. But he's referring to a video. It's a really good video. How to bid a computer network cabling project and get paid. There's the key. Getting paid. Don't be naive, man. A lot of people will rip you off. And there's a lot of good people out there. Don't get me wrong. But if a person says they're going to be there and they're going to pay you and they're not there, then their word isn't worth anything. They could have paid you ahead of time. They knew you were there all day. They could have paid you ahead of time. But anyway, bidding a job, in my opinion, that is a fantastic video, because I reveal my experience of 30 years of running a cabling business, an IT business, and how to bid it. And there's a lot of thought in there. There's a lot of ways that I've done. Some of it is scar tissue. I have a friend that always tells me, in real estate, he always tells me, do this or do that. And I say, wow, that's smart. I never thought about doing it that way in real estate. And he says, yeah, it's not smartness. It's called scars. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, I made big mistakes, and I learned from my mistakes, and now I'm telling you, don't do it a certain way, because that's the wrong way to do it, and you're going to have problems. And so it's the same thing here. I've taken my scars and I put it there under how to bid a computer network. How to bid a computer network cabling project and get paid. Part 1. Well, I think I've been too long on this video already. And we need to do this more often. This is a lot of fun. I can respond more than just 1 or 2 sentence answers. I cannot be your technologist person that can answer all the intricacies of networking and network systems and everything else, because you asked me a question. That's why the video's there. It's to explain all those things. I mean, what do I got? About 250 videos on there? Just about on every subject you could think of when it comes to cabling. And so I appreciate you watching the videos. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I really do. Appreciate it. And at the same time, if I've been any type of benefit to you, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. There's more videos on the way, and I hope you have a wonderful day.